Welcome to Trauma Recovery Anonymous, the podcast. My name is Richard and I am your host. For a long time now, I've been not only appearing on podcasts, but presenting this podcast, Trauma Recovery Anonymous. And over that period of time, I've never taken it upon myself to promote this in a way to ask you to like, share, and subscribe to this program. But here today, I'm going to ask you to like this program, to comment on these presentations. Any episode that resonates with you or disagrees with you, comment on that episode. Share your thoughts and feelings on that. If it relates to someone you know, put their name in the comment branch. That way they'll see it. Share this with everybody you know, good and bad, right or wrong. Share this with everybody you know. Go to your contact list and just add a link to it and send it to all. You don't know who you can help. I like the idea that you and I together, that by me making this presentation and by you sharing it, that we share it with one person out there who suddenly turns their life around. They realize they don't have mental illness, they don't have a depression or PTSD, that they were misdiagnosed, that they have a spiritual malady, a hole in their soul, and they choose to heal the hole in their soul by ridding themselves of the energy attached to the past trauma memory and completing the healing event of healing any trauma memory, and then completing the 12-step program of Trauma Recovery Anonymous. They find they break free completely of that past trauma. They go on to start a life, get married, have children, and one of their children in 3 or 4 generations creates a cure for cancer or AIDS. No one will know the part you and I played in this. No one will remember the fact that I made this presentation or the fact that you shared this with your contacts. But through sharing it with your contacts, that one person found a reason to live, started a family, and one of their descendants created a cure for cancer or AIDS. You'll never receive the accolades or the recognition for your part in this miracle happening, but God will know, and that's all that ultimately matters. We are God's creatures. We are all children of God. Whether we like it or not, that's the way it is. Stop arguing whether the chicken or the egg came first and accept there is a God. He created everything. It's been proven again and again. I love the idea that historians and archaeologists took on the Bible to prove it wasn't real. And they came across whole tribes they never knew of through following the exodus from the Jews from Egypt to the Promised Land. They came across these tribes that God committed genocide against to wipe out, to make it free that the Israelis could walk past. Again and again, we hear of all these tribes. Jericho, Sodom and Gomorrah, all these different places that are no more in the world today, but were real then. They've dug up, they've had these archaeological digs, and they found remnants of these civilizations. From Egypt to the Promised Land, they found there's 40 days of them traveling. They found all these different civilizations that are no more, which proves that the Bible is the book of truth. It has all the historical figures of that time in it, but it also has recounts of the miracles performed by Jesus. Everything that's in us is most profound and everything is connected. So stop arguing whether the chicken or the egg came first, except there is a God who cares for you, but he'll only meet you on his terms, not on your terms. Most of us think we can have God on our terms. We can have God, we can have the false God of depression and PTSD and anger and resentment and sex and money and success and fame and fortune and God, and he's okay with that. We have to choose one God, the one true God, and ask him to provide us with everything else. No more searching out depression and worshipping that all day long, or PTSD and worshipping that all day long, talking about us, joining groups that worship PTSD or depression and attending this and reliving it over and over again. We're meant to give our attention to God. And when we make that decision, and we choose one God rather than all these false gods, everything in our lives change. The past is none of our business. Therefore, PTSD and depression are none of our business. The past didn't happen to the person that you and I are today, right here, right now. It happened to a younger aspect of us in a lifetime ago. For me, it happened to a 12-year-old child 54 years ago. If you're a veteran today, it happened to an 18-year-old version of you who enlisted to fight in a war, 18, 19, 20, who aren't off to fight in a war. It happened to them. If you came out of a narcissistic, abusive relationship, understand it didn't happen to you because you're the survivor today. It happened to a younger aspect of you who married for love, not knowing they're marrying into a dysfunctional relationship. They were the victim, you're the survivor. And so on. Whatever happened in your past, if you can recall being raped or molested as a child, understand it didn't happen to you because you're here today listening to my voice. You're not the victim, you're the survivor. You get past that, you're standing today. The person who suffered the trauma is your inner child. They were the victim, you're the survivor. No matter what your circumstances are, you are the survivor today. And a younger aspect of you in another lifetime was the victim. Even if the event happened yesterday, it didn't happen to the person you are today, it happened to the person you were yesterday. And you're 24 hours older and wiser today that you're no longer that person. You're the survivor today. The person that suffered the event yesterday was the victim. That's the truth. You can't change the truth. The person that suffered the trauma event yesterday was the victim. You standing today are a survivor. You're not the same person. 24 hours have passed since that trauma event. You're no longer the same person. That 24 hours has changed you. You are now a phoenix rising out of the ashes. And the victim yesterday was in the ashes. This is the truth that will set you free, but only you can make that decision. The past is none of your business. I spoke to someone recently about the idea of that I was disillusional in some way to suggest that PTSD and depression are not proper states of being, that they are, in fact, disillusional states of being. But we only exist in this moment in time, right here and right now. You are alive in this moment. I am alive in this moment. I am speaking to you in this moment on this podcast, and you're listening. This is where you are in this moment, right? Look around you. Look at your life in this moment in time. Look who's in your life. Look where you live. This is where you are right now. You have to pinch yourself. Pinch yourself. You're not a child in the past. You're not a young aspect of you who went off to fight in a war. You're not a young aspect of you who married for love and married a dysfunctional human being. You're here and now looking back on what happened in the past. And if you're looking back on what happened in the past, it didn't happen to you. It happened to a younger aspect of you. This is the truth that will set you free. But you have to embrace this truth. You can certainly go back to where you were and stay stuck in the idea, I have depression and PTSD, I'm going to ignore this person. You can listen to the voice in your head telling you, don't listen to this idiot, he's talking crazy stuff, he doesn't know what he's talking about, fool, fool. But you have decided you're going to go to your grave suffering the past over and over again. You can't change, fix or alter the past. And by focusing on your past for the rest of your days, you're ignoring your life in the present. Look around you. You have maybe a husband or a wife or children or nieces or nephews or siblings or parents in your life that you're neglecting, ignoring. You're focusing on something that happened in the past as your meaning for life. When your meaning for life, the chance to move mountains, to rise like a phoenix, can only be found in this moment in time. Can you imagine going to your grave in this state, that you gave up on life to suffer a past trauma? That's what you're doing. By choosing to give life to a dead thing in the present, to resuscitate a dead thing and give life to it, you've chosen the death, decay and disease of the dead thing of the past rather than living fully in the present moment. That's a choice that you've made. No one has done this to you. You can't blame your past for this decision you're making today. If you're choosing to suffer the past over and over again, telling the world you have depression because of the past, you have PTSD because of the past, then you are doing this to you. You are your own worst enemy, and you've taken your inner child hostage. You have become part of their trauma event. What happened to them happened to them. They overcame it, so you'll be free to have a life today beyond their wildest dreams. You choosing to give life to it in the present and to suffer it in the present means that you're taking them as hostage. You're rejecting all that they did for you to suffer it again. You're giving their trauma a second victim. You're volunteering to be a second victim to their trauma that they defeated. You're giving life to their trauma again, for no other reason than to have some meaning or purpose in their pain. But it was their pain, it wasn't your pain. Your meaning and purpose can only be found in the present moment, and the past is none of your business. It's going to be hard if you've been in therapy for depression and PTSD for years. This isn't going to be easy. If you've been conditioned to believe that PTSD and depression are wonderful badges of honor to wear, and there's a whole society supporting the idea of PTSD and depression, all these support groups that recommend it and celebrate it and have worship days for it. Very hard to break off that tie, but you have to be true to yourself. You owe it to yourself and to your inner child to be true to yourself. Where is your life right now? Is it in the present, or are you focusing all your attention and intention on something that happened to your inner child? Where is your focus today, here and now? If you're focused on what happened to your inner child, you are not living. And if you want to live, you have to give the past back to your inner child. And it's quite simple. It's a 2-hour healing event whereby you give the details and the baggage of the event back to your inner child. What will happen is, when you give the details and the baggage back to your inner child in this 2-hour healing event, healing any trauma memory, your inner child leaves this plane of existence with all those details and baggage and steps into the light. And you're left with the memory of what happened to them. Only the memory. Like all the other memories you have in your memory bank, they don't have any control over you. They're just a memory. Your therapist asks you about the past and what happened. You can say, yeah, no, it happened to my inner child, but they've left this plane of existence. They've taken all the baggage and details with them, and it's gone. I now have the memory and I feel sorry for them, but it happened to them. It's nothing to do with me. In that moment, you'll know you're free. And then you complete the 12-step program of Trauma Recovery Anonymous to undo all the learned dysfunctional behavior of that misdiagnosed mental illness, mental disorder. You'll learn you're not a victim. No matter what happens in your life, past, present, or future, you're nobody's victim. You might be collateral damage. When people act out, they act out to fulfill their own needs. It's not about you, it's about them fulfilling their needs. You may be, before you may have seen yourself as their victim, but now you know you're collateral damage to their victim. If you weren't there, they'd choose somebody else to dump it on. It's not about you, it's never about you. You're collateral damage, but you're never a victim again. So everything that happened in the past, you're in a child, you're not a victim of that. Anything that might happen in the present, you're not a victim of that. You're collateral damage. And anything that might happen in the future, it's not happening to you because you only exist today. This is the truth that will set you free, but only you can set yourself free. I can't set you free. Nobody else can set you free. You have to make the decision for yourself. I would ask you to please share this with as many people as possible. Maybe you don't have a mental disorder misdiagnosis. Maybe you're not suffering the past and the present, but maybe you know someone in your family or friends. And maybe you don't know anyone, but maybe your family or friends know somebody that they would like to help. So just share this with your contacts. Go into your contacts and add a link to your contacts. If you know anybody who this would help, put their names in the comments below. If you agree or disagree, add to the comments. Be a part of the solution. I love the idea that you and I together with this podcast, I make this podcast and you share it. And you share it with one person who needs to hear it. And that person goes on to be restored to sanity, to have a life over it, get married and have children. And in 3 or 4 generations, one of their children go on to create a cure for cancer or AIDS. That wouldn't have happened if you hadn't shared this podcast or I hadn't written this podcast. You and I will never get the accolades or the recognition for our part in this miracle happening. But God will know that's all that matters. So if you think you're not having any effect in the world, if you think you don't have any meaning or purpose, take the time to share this podcast with everybody and anybody you can think of. Share it tenfold. Ask them to share it with their friends and family. And know that if you help one person, you save one soul from the insanity of this idea that the past is ours. You'll have moved a mountain in this lifetime. Only you can do this. Go to your contacts now and add this to your contacts and share it with everybody. Drop a comment in the comments below whether you agree or disagree with me, whether you find this is disillusional or you think I'm disillusional. If you want me to expand on how to deal with the voices in your head, you want to expand on how to change your mindset so that you don't think these negative thoughts, you can get out of being disillusional, put a message in the comments and I will post a podcast on that subject. Thank you for listening today.